Hello, I'm Ryan F9 and these are 4 mechanical jobs I wish I learned sooner. Number 1, how to balance a wheel. First you need a wheel stand. For low-speed tires, I can get away with using the existing axle and a couple of car jacks. Do my bearings make a frictionless pivot point? No. Is the ground perfectly level? No. Do I need to balance to a fraction of a degree? Not with the scrappy adventure tire. Of course, companies like Bike Master will try to sell you a more refined, tailor-made tool for $150. It's probably not a bad idea for high-performance wheels. Imprecise balancing can leave a slight wobble. To most riders, it's going to be unnoticeable, but if you're riding 200 miles per hour on a stiff sport bike, well, everything's magnified. If that's you, the Bike Master has a precisely straight pinching rod sitting on rollers with minuscule coefficients of friction, and the whole thing is immovably heavy and perfectly levelable. All I do is give the wheel a little motion and then wait for the heaviest part to settle at the bottom. Speaking of which, these are Motion Pro wheel weights. They're heavy and sticky and cheap and basically the same as every other option. Actually, that's not quite true. You can get these in especially small 3.5 gram increments, which is nice because motorcycle tires don't need much. Less weight, more precision, better balance. The thick adhesive will also stick to rough cast wheels and smooth spokies alike. Some people put duct tape over top to be doubly sure, but these ones do come in color match black, nickel plated, and silver powder coat, so it seems a bit of a shame to cover them up. And if you are sticking them to a spoked wheel, you can check for rim warp with the wheel balancer's stylus. Just make sure to do any spoke tension adjustments before balancing. At this point, someone is going to bring up the bloody beads. Yes, a tire can balance itself as it rolls. Yes, that means putting tiny marbles in there. Yes, they get stuck in the valve and flatten the tire. Yes, they stick to plugs and patches, making more imbalance than balance. And no, they're not a good idea. Now, this is a $2 tool that I didn't know how to use for an embarrassingly long time. It's especially shameful because spark plug gappers are important. The distance between my electrodes can cause more horsepower, less horsepower, more misfires, less misfires, more fuel consumption, less fuel consumption. And if I deviate too much from spec, as the pharmaceutical ads say, in rare cases, symptoms may include death. Of the spark plug, I mean, not you. So here's how the gapper works. Push down on the ground electrode to decrease the gap, or use the little hole to widen the gap, just like a bottle opener. Speaking of which, the other end of this thing is actually a bottle opener. Because no motorcyclist can get through a 30-second task without needing a booze break. Once I'm good and drunk, I'll check the gap using these sections of various thickness. The Holy Book decrees 0.7 to 0.8 millimeters for my bike, so that is what I'm trying to hit. There are also round gradated tools with more measurement options. It even has units in both imperial and metric, which this tool sorely lacks. However, the coin-style gappers are notoriously inaccurate. They look like toonies, they cost a toonie, and a micrometer will prove you get what you pay for. In contrast, the Motion Pro gapper is criminally overpriced at $15, but at least the 0.5 slot is actually 0.5 millimeters thick. The other thing about rotational gappers is there's always a temptation to widen the plug by positioning it on the tool and then twisting until you reach your measurement. That's bad. See, whenever you gap a plug, you should be careful to put the least amount of force on that center electrode. Don't even touch it if you can avoid it, because oftentimes this is fragile iridium or platinum and it easily succumbs to damage. While you have your plugs out, might as well compare them to a chart. Legend has it there's an old fortune teller living in the Peruvian caves who can discern the lost symbols of carbon fouling, oil fouling, rich lean overheating, and the like. And before you stick them back, put that bottle opener to better use and crack some cleaning alcohol. Can't drink it, but it does prevent my oily fingerprints from causing hot spots. Now, our next tool is 10 times more expensive and 10 times more important to be friends with. This is a Motion Pro chain breaker and riveter, and it can save your life. For example, I could break a chain out here, 30 kilometers from anything capable of busting off a broken link and replacing it with a spare master. So carry one of these. and more importantly, know how to use it. We're gonna practice here in the warm garage before I have to do this in the hand-shaking, nerve-rattling cold of a remote forest. Step 1 is easy. Put together the handle for leverage, put together the spring-loaded pin so it cranks down and pulls back once the job is done, put together the hand crank, and put yourself together. See, mental calm is crucial to chain breaking. Popping one of these rivets is going to put a ton of pressure on the little pin that's in here. So I want to crank with all the confidence of a booby child. Now just make a little turn, reassess, is that still all lined up? And I crank again a few times and think, okay, does this feel okay? It's a good thing that the Motion Pro comes with a hand crank rather than a ratchet, because it lets me feel and sympathize with the pressure I'm putting into my poor little pin. Yep, there she goes. Speaking of which, I do get 3 pins per set, 2, 3, and 4 millimeters. You only need one size per chain, the right one, but if I do happen to snap a pin, it's nice to know there's a plan B and C for getting me back on the road. Now, Motion Pro says these can break any chain below 520 without grinding the rivet head first. In the field, I'd try it, but in the garage, I never risk breaking my tool, so I dremeled first. Besides busting a chain, well, this tool can also rivet a master link back together. I recommend buying more masters than you need, and they're $5, and a heavy-handed mechanic will often break one on the first try.
A heavy-handed rider will also break chains, so it's nice to have a spare master out here. Now the rivet kind preferably, because they're stronger than the clip ones.
Now Motion Pro cleverly designed the pinch plates to only fit the right way around, so I can't really screw this up. Then I just place it around the master and ratchet like a booby child. Small turn, second guess myself, recheck the alignment, another little turn, third guess myself, readjust the alignment again, and keep checking for the free movement of the chain as I go. Ideally, you'll know your plates are tight enough when the calipered width matches spec. Of course, not every master link makes it clear what spec should be, so here's a rule of thumb. If you can just see the line where the material changes to the hollow rivet point above the plate, then you've probably gone far enough. And if the chain is binding, meaning it comes off the sprocket stiff and kinked like mine is, then you know you've gone too far. The master's toast, break it, and start again. Good thing we bought that spare. One last step. Install the anvil and the riveter, which do hollow points only, and crank it down like a baby child until you flatten the rivet head. I usually smoosh until the diameter of my rivets roughly matches that of the factory ones. And that's it. Job done. A good practice is to re-lubricate the tool for next time, just because the factory stuff doesn't last, and then return the pieces to its carrying case. Motion Pro does make a slightly smaller tool without the case, but that's $25 I'd rather not save. As it is, this tool is just beefy enough for moto chains, while still compact enough to carry on a motorcycle. It's uniquely well suited for our use, if not uniquely well made. So best to avoid the cheaper one. Final job every motorcyclist should learn: how to check wheel alignment. For one, it's important. Now that we've messed with the chain and adjusted the tension, our rear wheel could be offline with the front or off parallel, and both create dangerous handling quirks. And for two, it's really easy to check alignment. All you need is a string, a ruler, and some tape. Anything that the shops do on a $1,000 machine, yet can be done by raiding a kindergarten arts and crafts room, is worth learning. First, wrap your string around the rear wheel. Second, pull your strings to the front and secure them around the ruler at the width of the rear tire. I'm running a 110 back there, so my strings are 11 centimeters apart. Now wedge the ruler against the front tire and adjust it back and forth until both strings touch the leading sidewall of the rear tire, like so. At this point, we have two parallel lines indicating the rear tire's alignment. If it matches the front, the midpoint of the rear tire should sit right on the midpoint of the front. In the same way, the distance between the front sidewall and the string should be equal on both sides. Any small misalignment will be easily visible, so if you're off by centimeters at the front, adjust by millimeters at the back, and then reassess. And that's it. 4 mechanical jobs I didn't know but were really worth learning. Thanks for watching.